Hey, welcome to Echoes of Impact with Noura. This is your host, Noura Almasri. Welcome to the show. So, today I want to talk to you about starting your own business. I know a lot of people now, after tax season is over, they get motivated to start their own business. New people starting new businesses every day. But I want you before you're starting a new business to think about the steps you have to take in order to have a reliable business, to form your business in a correct type. So I don't want you to go ahead and start an LLC while in fact you had to start a nonprofit instead. And yes, I say nonprofit as a business because if you've been following me for a while and you have heard me saying nonprofit is a business, and if you do not treat it as one, it's not going to be successful. So you want to determine what is the type of business that you want to start first. And for that, yes, do your own research, but also I want you to consult with an accountant, actually, in fact, tax accountant and a lawyer. Consult with both of them and see what make more sense for your business, because you don't want to start a wrong business and then in the middle, like, okay, I wish I have started this way. It might make more sense for the type of business. So this is the first step. Of course, it does help if you have a business plan, because we're going to know what's your goal, what's your exit strategy, everything, in order to let you know what is actually the type of business you should start. And let me tell you a tip: never start an S Corp, because S Corp, technically, you cannot start as an S Corp. You are either going to be LLC and then elect to be an S Corp, or C Corporation, elect to be an S Corp, partnership, elect to be an S Corp, but it's never going to be the start. So wait before you do this election. I know a lot of services, they have that option, like start an S Corp, but they don't start an S Corp right away. It's actually, they have to start the business and then elect to be an S Corp. They do it from the beginning. It's not wise to do that because you are not ready when you first start. So don't start an S Corp. We'll talk about how to elect an S Corp in a later day. But today I want to tell you, okay, start the correct type of business. And then after that, first step, of course, registering with your state. You can have a service for that. I suggest that you have a professional doing that for you, not just random service over the internet, because yeah, they advertise low price, but then if you want this, pay this. If you want this, pay this. So unless you know what's going to entail, don't do it on your own. So have a professional actually help you do that. Second thing is, most service also, provide you with the registering for the EIN. And then after you finish all these paperwork, you want to go ahead and first step you want to take, open a business bank account. Never use your personal account for business. Because when you start a business, you're providing this legal shield for your business and for your personal property, for yourself. But if you start commingling from the beginning, you don't have that separation, you're going to lose that protection. Not only that, if you got in debt, if someone like sue you, if anything, like, you're gonna actually be in trouble. If you got audited, you're gonna be in trouble because you cannot prove which one is business, which one is personal. So it's gonna get messy at the end. So you want to make sure you have your business bank accounts, and make sure you educate yourself on compliance. Make sure you consult a tax accountant along the way. I'm not saying that just because I am a tax accountant. I'm saying that because I see how much trouble you can get in if you don't have this education and someone in place to advocate for you and for giving you the right advice. When I started my business 3 years ago, I actually was surprised with the amount of business owners who do not know what estimated taxes is. They end up paying a lot of taxes just for that, because they didn't know what estimated taxes is. They end up paying a lot of taxes just because they did not know what strategies they can take to save on taxes and instead invest in their business to grow and achieve their dreams, and a lot more. We don't have the time to address everything today, but the main thing is to get the education. And today I'm talking to three wonderful guests. I want you to stay with me so you can listen to them. We're going to talk about how to start a business and as a nonprofit consultant, grant writer. We're going to talk about grants. We're going to talk to a wonderful, successful woman in many aspects as well. So three wonderful guests today we're going to have for you. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Watch my guests because they're here for you. They're here to make sure you have the knowledge you need to be successful in your own business and on your own life. All right. This is Noura Almasri, and this is Echoes of Impact. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Echoes of Impact with Noura, and this is your host, Noura Almasri. Welcome back. So I am actually very excited to introduce a very special guest that we're going to have her for the first time. Make sure you listen carefully and you learn from her knowledge, because what she's going to share with you today is going to be golden. So help me welcome Dr. Linda Gray. Dr. Linda Gray is a great professional. She works with nonprofits. She's in a grant writing, government contracting, a lot of other stuff. Like, I'm going to let her actually tell you all about her background. So help me welcome Dr. Linda Gray. Dr. Linda Gray, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Noura. I have always wanted to be in your presence and definitely to be interviewed by you. So I am so excited to share information on your platform.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have you here. Thank you. So would you mind, I like always to have the guests introduce themselves to the audience, share what's your background, what have you done so far in your business, and just share about you. So what would you like them to know about you?
Okay, well, first of all, my passion is the nonprofit organizations. As a matter of fact, I have over almost 30 years in the nonprofit industry. And I have been amazed at the magnificent growing of the nonprofit organizations. So the nonprofit industry is growing rapidly. So you can just say from high school, several years ago, I started volunteering my services into the nonprofit space. And I'm also a certified business mentor with SCORE, which is a SBA funded organization that we provide free mentoring to individuals that are interested in starting their business, growing their business. And then I am a wife. I've been married for about 49 years. I have 4 grandchildren, and just so excited to be here and share the information with our audience today. So excited.
Thank you. We're excited to have you. So, in the world of nonprofits, what do you work with most? Like, what type of nonprofits? What do you help them with the most?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question because there are several types of nonprofit organizations. So basically, I work with any nonprofit organization that is 501c3 certified, and then also organizations really in the urban community. Because there is great opportunities for the small emerging nonprofit organizations that really bring impact to their communities serving the inner city. And also I work with community development corporations, which are large capacity nonprofit organizations that actually provide affordable housing. They also provide technical assistance and workforce development skills. They also are responsible for working with the community and with the city leadership to actually provide economic stimulation and growth to the nonprofit industry. So all types of nonprofit organizations I've had the pleasure to work with. And I do provide grants management, which means that I help nonprofit organizations manage their operations when they are acquiring and receiving grant funds. And so I would like to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about those types of grant funding, if you like.
Yeah, of course. So, like when you say grant management, people get confused a little bit. What does it mean? Like, you manage the program? Does it mean you manage the budget? Does it mean you manage matching what they're doing with what their grants requires? What is it exactly?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it cannot take the place of managing their financials, Nora. And I think you are a great, you know what I mean, asset because that's so important. But what I mean about managing them, making sure that they stick to their mission and their goals and their objectives, making sure that they create systems in place to be able to spend those dollars effectively in the community and then also leverage their ability to learn more about the nonprofit industry and also to help manage their board members as far as keeping the board members on tack through strategic planning. So that's the majority of things that I do. I used to be definitely in this business starting it. I only used to write grant proposals. In other words, I would identify funding opportunities from the corporate level, also from private foundations. And then most of all, and really a great opportunity is for nonprofit organizations to get access to federal funding. So I'm just considered they're all in one management nonprofit consultant.
That's awesome. And I want to take you back to actually what you said, like making sure they are doing what they're supposed to do. What's the consequences when they get a grant and they don't manage it right? What could they face of consequences?
Well, the first thing that we have to understand as nonprofit leaders, and especially board members of the nonprofit organization, it is important for board members to be trained on managing grant funds. That's so important. So really now most of the, especially federal grants, they actually provide training and they actually teach you how to manage those funds now. So that's critical, you know what I mean, for us to be able, the leaders especially, to be able to make sure they understand the requirements, the federal language, and then making sure of their reporting systems. And like I said, Nora, making sure they have the expert like you to help them grow, maintain, manage, and provide good reporting for them at the end of that funding request.
And how can someone sign up for those training? Like, where do they fund them?
Well, first of all, every federal agency that provides federal grant funding, it is automatically in the application to receive training automatically. And then you get the training quarterly. If you have a year contract of federal grant, receive a federal award, you are being trained every quarter. Every 3 months, the funding agency is providing opportunities for you to continually learn and keep on track by having you submit quarterly reports and also having you attend webinars throughout the federal funding. It has really changed. The federal space has really changed within the last, I guess you can say, since COVID. So before COVID, there wasn't enough time or enough information or input for organizations. But now since COVID, because there is a vast amount of billion dollars of funding available to support and grow the communities since COVID.
That's amazing. I'm glad they're doing this because I remember in the past it used to be easier to get subcontract. So you contract with someone who already have that federal grant funding. So they train you on how to report, and they are that like the middleman between you and federals, that kind of a safer position. Because one of the consequence like can be actually you have to pay that money back, right?
You either give it back or you suffer the consequences. But more than likely, it leaves the nonprofit organization a bad taste, a black eye. You know what I mean? You
Mm-hmm.
don't ever want to not manage and provide, oversight and fiscal management over federal dollars, because once you do, you're considered on the blacklist. So
Mm-hmm.
it's important for us to definitely make sure in our nonprofit organizations we have the professionals and the experts, and then we communicate with the federal funding agency. That is
Mm-hmm.
so important.
Yeah, this is very important. So, guys, don't get that black eyes. Make sure you manage it right, or get an expert like Dr. Gray to manage it for you. So, is that similar, the federal grant? Is it the government contracting, or is it government contracting something different?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we don't want any misconceptions about the nonprofit uh, being able to get contracts. They're different from a for-profit business. A for-profit business is they actually get the contracts as well as the nonprofit organization. And the best scenario, though, is for a for-profit business to collaborate with a nonprofit organization is better to be able to leverage both organizations, both business and both nonprofit organization, to really make impact into the community and then get access to these federal funding wholesomely and very, attractively opportunities of funding to build the capacity of the nonprofit organization and also make a profit for the for-profit business. So that's the only difference. The data source for nonprofit organization is grants.gov.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Okay.
the opportunities for the for-profit businesses are normally through a SAM system, which is called the Systems Awards Management.
Mm-hmm.
So both entities have to apply and register in that database to be access to those contracts as well as the grants. And so, respectively of the words, awards is considered contracts award.
Okay.
Uh, Grants are considered awards too, but it's mostly in the nonprofit industry which that term is being used.
Okay. So, is it fair to say grants mean nonprofit, government contract mean for-profit business?
Yes,
Okay.
normally, because before COVID hit, this is before it was strictly government contracts, and then the nonprofit industry really wasn't aware of the opportunities of how they can as well get contracts. But on the after the American Rescue Recovery Act, which was the executive order that was put in place when President Biden came into office, because all presidents, they create and have and implement their own executive orders.
Mhm.
So when President Biden entered into the presidency, he created what you call the American Rescue Recovery Act, which is an act that provided billions and trillions of dollars into the United States to impact communities of color and
Mhm.
also to impact veterans. So that's the reason why the opportunities are available for nonprofit organizations, because they do make impact really directly to the people they're considered what you call boots on the ground, so that's the reason why. And we have to learn about these opportunities. And that's the reason why it's important about nonprofit organizations learning more, and getting involved in applying for federal funding, because it's very lucrative, because it builds the capacity. It pays for operational expenses as well as paying for the services, to really make impact and help our communities grow economically.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom from you. We can talk forever. This is, I don't want the time to end, but unfortunately you have limited timing. Hopefully we can get you back in the program so you can tell the audience more about this. However, I want to actually, for the audience to know, where can they connect with you? If they want to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, first of all, I do want to thank you, Noura. And then I'm going to give two areas, or two places that I would like your audience to take a look at. Number one, they can get a hold of me through SCORE. And that email address is Linda, Linda .gray at scorevolunteer.org. I want to encourage anyone, to get access to that organization as a certified business mentor with SCORE. But my business is called Corporate Connections, and you can go to my website. Is corporateconnections.info. Again, corporateconnections.info.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So guys, go ahead and take advantage of what you learned today. Go to SCORE website and connect with Dr. Linda through SCORE. And if you want to work directly with her, you're ready to invest, go ahead and connect with her through her website. Thank you so much again. This is Echoes of Impact with Noura. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is your host, Noura Almasri, and this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. Now I'm really excited to introduce a guest that we had her before twice, not even one. And if you've been watching every episode, if you're not, you can go back. You will actually hear her talking about different stuff. Today, I'm going to actually talk to her about starting grants business, because she's in a grant writing business, and it will benefit you if you are looking to start a new business and you're not sure what is it yet, or if you already know you want to start a nonprofit consultation business, a grant writing, or anything of that. It's going to benefit you. You're going to hear from her experience what made her actually start the business and what are the steps you should take, or at least what did the steps that she take in order to start her business. So stay with us and help me welcome my friend, Brittnei C. Brittnei, welcome back to the show.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Noura. Thanks so much for the opportunity to come back. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Thank you so much. So I want you to give a brief introduction to yourself. That's for those people who did not hear you before. And again, if this is the first time you watch Brittnei on the show, go ahead and listen to the other episodes so you can hear what else she has to say. So can you give us a little introduction?
Sure. I'm Brittnei C. I am a nonprofit strategist, and I am the founder and CEO of my company, Write the Vision Plainly, LLC. And what I do there is I position nonprofits and business owners to qualify for grant funding. It's not a source that most will be willing to go to, but it is an interesting one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So today I want to actually talk to you about starting a business. You've started your business a few years ago. Like, how did you start your business? Why did you actually start in specific grant writing business?
Well, Nora, I don't have a story that's like, oh, I've done this all my life. I started as a teen in nonprofit development, and this is where my passion is driven today. That is not my story. My story is I was in the middle of searching for type of grant opportunities, and I wasn't able to find any. And so that led to me being very, very frustrated. I felt like because I was new in the arena, I couldn't differentiate between the real grant sources from the fake grant sources. So then I started doing more research. I started diving into it. I love writing in general. I've been writing forever. So now I just applied that writing skill and technique to grant writing. And I do it full time as a nonprofit strategist.
That's awesome. So basically, just out of frustration to be able to tell, like, is this true or is it a spam trying to get my information and probably uh, get me into identity theft case? So that's where the frustration came from. So this is very valid, and it's getting harder to distinguish between real opportunities, not only in a nonprofit arena, when everything happening, like even in your mailbox and email box, like everything sounds like real. But yes, we
Yes.
have to have these skills to actually differentiate. So now being in your space, like since we brought that up, like what tips could you give to people to actually differentiate between what could be a fraud and what is a real opportunity?
I would say the best way to decipher the two, like the real deal grant opportunities from the fake ones, is to dive into grant writing yourself. And I'll discuss that more in a minute. But when you learn how grant writing itself is a protocol, it has certain things that you add into it. It's a certain language that it's all its own. With scams, it's more like, okay, well, we're gonna pay you XYZ dollars if you do this application, hand over all your social security and bank card information, and then you pay us, like, let's just say $100, and then we're gonna send you over $500,000 as a grant because you won. That is a scam. I know some are not as obvious, and scammers are trying to get more and more crafty. They're trying to sound more and more legitimate, but the legitimate ones you'll always know because you do get the direct feedback from the funder or the funder's team. You do have a chance to qualify. There is a protocol, there's steps, there's different ways and directions attached to the proposal for you to know. And if it doesn't have directions, if it's not a list of what I just said, it could be potentially a scam.
Mm-hmm. That's very important to know. Now let's move back to how do you start a nonprofit business, a nonprofit consulting business being a grant writer?
So you can be both. You can be nonprofit leader and you can be a grant writer. It's kind of difficult if you are the face and writing grants, but nothing is impossible. So the grant writing aspect is to just learn all you can about grant writing, its protocols. Like for example, niche down to the specific area in grant writing that you want to be in, like grant writing development, grant management, grant consulting, or freelancing. So when you have an idea of that, that's something you want to dive into, like on your own free time. Uh, the steps and the protocols for that particular thing, and then that's like part one. Part two is the business side. So how do you establish yourself as a business? You're going to want to register with your secretary of whatever state you're in, And I'm in the state of Texas right now. So if I were doing a business, let's say I wanted to do an LLC, I would register with my local Secretary of State office in the state of Texas, follow that protocol. And also, if there's any type of payments with that, I would go ahead and also get like the bank account, the EIN, the other stuff, the business plan that qualifies you as a legitimate business recognized by your state, your county, or your embassy.
Okay, that's awesome. And just emphasizing on one thing you said, go ahead and open your bank account, your business bank account as soon as you get registered, because this is a
Yes,
mistake a lot of people actually don't do, and they keep their personal and their business commingled together. And this is going to be a problem. And there's no point from starting your LLC if you do that, because you don't get the protection that you register to get. But
that is
so
true.
yeah, so this is a business aside, like technicality, the getting the paperwork, but how do they get the knowledge and to be able to choose? Like, would I be in a grant development, like you say, grant management or grant writing or whatever other services to provide for nonprofit? Like, is there a place where someone can go and get the knowledge to be better deciding, like, what is it they want to do?
Absolutely. So the biggest resource there is, and we're all very familiar with it, and the number one place we go is Google. So you can go to your Google search or your favorite browser, those that don't like Google. You can go there and see what type of programs are available near you for grant writing in the expertise that you wanted to. So like writing, development, management, so on. I prefer, like if you want to get certified, for example, I prefer continuing education classes from a college, from your local college, because they have all of what I just mentioned. It is a class, a legitimate class. They give you all the tools and resources that you need to qualify yourself in that particular area of grant writing and development.
That's awesome. So base thing is just to go to a college. This is the secure place, this is something credible. But is it necessary
Yes.
for someone to get certified, or they just need the knowledge regardless of they get the certificate or not?
Yes, that's actually correct. They will need the knowledge, whether they get certified or not. The certification is more like, I would say, it's more for your credibility. It's more to say that you are a professional in this arena, but it's not really something that proves your knowledge and expertise as a grant writer or a grant consultant if they're planning on doing that for this arena.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Now, I know you have few classes going on and few master class. So can you tell us a little bit what are you offering now, so for people to take advantage of that?
So today was the last day of my 30-day series. So for those of you all who want to follow me on social media, I put it there where for 30 days I'm giving one grant tip. And I started it on we're in April, right? Yeah, I started on April 1st and now it's the 30th. So 30 days of grant tips. That's the first one. And the next one is I have a 90-minute masterclass to write grants from start to finish. It's free. All you have to do is click the link. It is actually found on my YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. So go ahead and register for the master class she's offering, because you're gonna get a knowledge for free, and you're gonna get an idea. Is this something that you want to actually to continue with, or do you want to do something else? And from there you can connect with Brittney so you can talk to her further. Thank you so much, Brittney, for being here. Thank you for sharing all this information with us. This is Echoes of Impact with Noura. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is your host, Noura Almasri, and this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. Now I'm very excited to introduce my next guest. She's an amazing woman. She's a wife and mom. She's an uh, ophthalmologist. She has her own practice. She has started her own nonprofit and an own LLC. She has a lot of things going on. But I like my guests to introduce themselves because no one can introduce them better than how do they introduce themselves. So help me welcome Dr. Rand Diab. Dr. Rand, thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, our pleasure. So I would love for you to actually start with introducing yourself and a lot of things you are involved in the community and your own business and your own nonprofit. So I'll leave the stage for you to actually introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, so I am a physician. I'm a practicing physician. I have been for over 20 years. But one of the things I did that I think was unique at the time, when I was in medical school, I got married and I was already pregnant by the time I was graduating medical school. So during my residency, I had a baby, and that was very unusual at that time. And because of that, I had to find a balance very early on between my career and my family. So from the very first job I took out of training, I worked part-time. And what that allowed me to do was very early on to see that there is room to have other things in my life other than just being a practicing physician. And in medicine, we sacrifice so much to become a doctor that oftentimes we just want to go straight into full-time work and put everything else aside. But I chose not to do that. And because of that, now 20 years later, I've raised a family, 3 grown children, and I founded a nonprofit, as you mentioned, about 14 years ago, which was originally just a small program for girls to study our Islamic holy book, the Quran, and to study it as a group. And I wanted to do that for my daughter. I was working part-time and homeschooling my kids part-time at that time. Wow. And then over time, it just continued to grow and grow. And now it's a growing full-time school. And yesterday we closed on a brand new building. So we continue to grow. So along with all of that, I also have my own practice as an ophthalmologist, and I still do work part-time, even despite that. And recently, last year, I started a new small business to serve women, and it's called the Well Circle. And it brings together a lot of my passions, wellness, and as a healthcare provider, and as somebody who loves sports and fitness. And I was always raised being very physically active in my family. That's how we always grew up doing things outdoors and doing sports. So bringing all of that together with my expertise in medicine, but also specifically to serve women, and specifically Muslim women, because often they are underserved in the areas of wellness and fitness and health due to various cultural and other types of barriers for them. I also have a lot of passion for blog writing and social media. I'm very involved in those. So this organization, the Well Circle, brings together a lot of that for me.
That's amazing. And congratulations on closing the building for the school. This is very exciting. I actually saw that on your Instagram. This is exciting. So this is amazing. Like often people, when they go to medical school and start practicing as doctors, oh, we don't have time to do anything. And to being a woman, a mom, a wife, and having all of this things you're involved in, I mean, this is amazing. No one has any excuse anymore. No excuse. So good. Tell me a little bit more about the Will Circle. Like how are the programs like going? Like what do you exactly do?
So we do a variety of programs. We do some live programs and we do some virtual programs, and that allows us to incorporate people from all over. So it's we're local here in the Chicago area. So here we do a lot of live programming, but I also do a lot of content creation online regarding issues around wellness and how the intersection between the sort of modern wellness industry and that movement intersects with some of our traditional values as Muslim women and things that we've already learned in our faith tradition, and bringing all of that together to find our best well-being. So that's kind of the premise of it. And then the activities that we do often revolve around gathering together. One of the things that we know there's a famous Harvard study. It was a longitudinal study that's ongoing that followed people throughout their lives. And one of the things they found is that nearing the end of life, the thing that people most look back on and they most benefited from in terms of their happiness and well-being were the social connections that they had. It wasn't their work. They didn't say, oh, I wish I had worked more, or I wish I had more money, or anything like that. Most people said that it was really about their social connections, their family. They wished that they had invested more in those relationships, those personal relationships. And as we know, right now, we have sort of an epidemic of loneliness that people struggle from. So our primary gatherings do involve that social connection and being together and being in a very supportive environment. So I really focus on that. And then we usually will have some food, we'll have a topic that we're discussing, and we'll have some type of spiritual practice that we're engaging in to grow ourselves and sort of have that spiritual benefit as well. So we had a big event actually on Saturday evening. And we had been planning this for a long time. And it was an open mic event for women. And so we had probably 125 women who attended, and maybe about 10 to 15 who actually performed at this event. They had a choice of doing reciting poetry or spoken word, or doing comedy or singing. Some people recited short stories. Some people did a little improv skit. One person recited a monologue play. I recited some of my poetry as well. So it was really, really beautiful gathering. Everyone enjoyed it. We laughed and we cried and we sat together and socialized and had coffee and snacks. So we really enjoyed ourselves that night.
That's amazing. And how often do you do such gathering?
We usually try to do a gathering every couple months. A lot of effort goes into our gatherings, a lot of time and planning, and we have a very small team. So we don't want to spread ourselves too thin. So we've been aiming for about every couple months. And then in between there, I'm usually trying to create content for online, keeping up the blog. Sometimes I have people contribute to writing on the blog. So I don't write all of the pieces myself. In general, we'd really love to grow our team. And I think anytime you start a new business or a new nonprofit or an LLC or any kind of project, the team you have is probably the crucial thing that is the difference between making it or not making it. And I think, I've been involved in a lot of things, and I think having the right team and having enough people that are helping is one of the things that we often struggle with.
Yeah, definitely. Like no one can do one thing, like, something like and grow it to very far without like a group of people who are qualified. So what do you think, since you're involved in many type of business, what do you see in common between nonprofits, your business, your practice, something just, like every business or every new project must have?
I think there are a couple main things. Number one, you need to have a good leader, somebody who's dedicated and they understand what the vision is of that organization, and they're dedicated to sticking to that, because you can't do everything. You can't spread yourself too thin. And then, as I mentioned before, knowing how to assemble the right team around you to support you in the way that you need, because you may be a visionary and you may be full of wonderful ideas, but you can't do everything yourself. So if you don't have the right people to help you, you're not going to get much done, or you're just going to burn yourself out trying. So I think those two pieces, once you get those two pieces in place, and knowing which things you want to outsource and delegate. For example, you might have a legal matter or a financial matter. Those may be things you'll need to have somebody with expertise in those areas help you with. But in terms of your core team, those are the sort of the dedicated folks who are going to really do the work and are willing to learn new things. I've learned a lot of things over the years. I have learned how to build websites from scratch. I have learned how to, when I filled out the nonprofit paperwork, we did have a pro bono attorney at that time who reviewed it for us, but filling out that whole application and getting the nonprofit status, that was a process. I have read so many books in terms of, starting a business, branding your business, marketing your business, these kinds of things. So I think being willing to learn, being willing to come out of your comfort zone, being willing to take risks that may or may not succeed are all important things when you're starting a business.
Nice. This is very important. Like, like we have to continue to learn because we can never learn everything. And business, how you do business is continually evolving. So we have to keep up. So I can't agree more with you. So if a woman wants to join the circle, you said like there's you're here in local in the Chicago suburb. So like, how can people join you, like in person or virtually? Like, how can they be part of the Wealth Circle?
They can find us, and there's two main places you can find us online to connect. The Well Circle is the Instagram handle, and then the website is thewellcircle.org. So both of those places, you'll have contact information. They can reach out to me and connect with me directly. We can add them to our mailing list. That's usually an email list is how I announce most of the events. We also announce them on the Instagram page, and we have a broadcast channel for our WhatsApp. So those are all ways that we announce what we're doing and share with others so that they can get involved.
This is amazing. And I know also you take a mission trip to Turkey, and I don't know if you go anywhere else. Would you want to touch base on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've done a variety of different types of overseas relief work or mission trips. I've done one that was medical, where I actually took care of people's eyes and did some cataract surgeries, as well as a clinic in a refugee camp in Jordan for Syrian refugees. And then I also have done multiple humanitarian missions in Turkey on the border that's near Syria, which primarily also serves Syrian refugees as well. And that's sort of a way that I honor my heritage as a Syrian American, is trying to give back in those ways. And those humanitarian trips have been extremely impactful for me. I would say they're actually life-changing. Just connecting with people in the time when they're struggling so much and they're so vulnerable. And one thing that I did that was very unique was that I met with a group of women who were survivors of political imprisonment and torture. And it was very hard, but I met with them. We had a group of them. There were 20 or 25 women, and I translated each one of their stories from Arabic to English for our group live. So they would tell me the story, and as they were speaking, I would translate to the rest of our group who didn't speak Arabic. And through doing that, I felt that their stories passed through me, like physically passed through me. And it's very traumatizing because they experienced so much trauma, but there's something I experienced about witnessing another person's suffering, just witnessing them, just saying, I hear you, I see you, I understand that you've suffered in this way. I can't fix it, but just witnessing them was so impactful. It was impactful for them, and it was impactful for us. So that was one of the most transforming experiences during one of those trips that I had.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for everything you're doing in your community, for your family, for the women around the world and in your community. And, thank you so much. And thank you for being here with me. Guys, you want to go visit the website for the Will Circle, connect with Dr. Rand on Instagram, be part of the circle, learn more about what she has to share with you, and make sure to send us an email at hello@echoesofImpact.net with all your comments, all your feedback. That was Noura Almasri. Until next time, keep making an impact.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.